This is the main board for the Pioneer VSX LX505. It's kind of been cutting out on sound. No audio would play, and you know, if you're watching a video and it clips to ads or something and then comes back to the video, the audio will completely cut out. Even though all the like speaker grid shows up on the front of the device as if it was playing out the speakers, there's just no audio output. So this chip is supposedly to blame. It's a Texas Instruments DSP chip. I heated it up once before and things started working for about another 3 months, and now it's starting to die. So I've pulled it off the board. For this I used just a hot air solder rework gun, and it was kind of a pain to get off. I actually had to turn the gun all the way up to the hottest temp it would go in order for the chip to release, which was 480 Celsius. And I just kind of went around the edges and hit the middle until, you know, and I used a little tweezers to kind of pry under the bottom and just kind of pry it up gently until the chip finally came off. And there's some fluid underneath. I think that might be some flux from the last time I tried to heat this up, but I'm actually not sure if that's something else that was already there under the board. So this should be interesting. I have a new chip over here that I am going to try and solder on the board.
So the first step here was to try and clean up as much pre-existing solder as possible, just to get a really clean state so that when I solder things back on, you know, there's nothing left over, and it's easy to see what's going on with the individual pins. Here you can see I laid down a bunch of solder flux, and as I laid it down, it was just way too much. And so it left a whole bunch of additional solder beading in there after it was heated up. You can see me here trying to remove the excess, which I later had to come back just with the solder iron and just lay down a ton of flux all by itself to pull it all away and clean it all out. The whole job would have gone much more quickly if I had just manually put down solder with the iron. Couple of pins are bent out of place a little bit. That's going to be tricky. That it's really tiny. So here you can see a needle up against those pins.
Very nice. So you can see the flux like causing it to bind to the metal and to push away from the other stuff. We got the chip put on. Let's take a really close look at all the pins.
So this was the last step. I realized that there were a couple more solder beads left over under the pins, and so I had to come back through and just lay down tons more flux and just pull it all out. At this point, I've currently been running the system for about 3 months without any more problems. In fact, it's been totally flawless. I used to have some delays when the source signal would change. The audio would delay slightly, but that has completely gone away and everything just works now. You may have noticed earlier there the center of the chip has some solder that I was unable to remove, and you can see it here sticking through the board. I did clean it up a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be a problem. And then I put a heat sink on to keep it cool.